I'm Don Pettit. I'm a NASA astronaut, and I'm on the International Space Station.
Give me a summary of what the mission goals are for your time on orbit and what responsibilities and jobs are going to be yours when you're up there.
Well, I'm one of the science guys, and I'm one of the repair guys. And fortunately, there's lots of science and lots of repair to do on station, so that will certainly keep us all busy.
Give me a couple of examples, if you would, of some of the human life sciences experiments that you're going to be involved with on this flight.
Well, living and working in space go along with doing science experiments in space. And so we would stretch our clothing out longer than what it was initially intended. Initially, we were to wear a pair of underwear and socks and a t-shirt for 3 days, and having no way to wash these aids in a weightless environment, then they're just discarded as rags to mop up stuff, and then finally discarded with a fiery deorbit trajectory into Earth's atmosphere. We stretched our clothing out to 8 to 10 days. And we would wait until we started to get a little rash around our waist before we changed our underwear. And that was sort of our signal that says, hey, I think it's time to get a new pair of skivvies. And we did this voluntarily. We did this with a sense of humor because it was necessary in this frontier environment to preserve these resources for future crews. We had a problem on one of our spacewalks where we were trying to unfold a beam that supports some lights on the outside of space station. And this beam was folded up into its launch, for its launch state, and we were supposed to go out there. It's supposed to be a simple task where we just unfold it so it could be useful. Well, it was stuck. We couldn't get it to unfold. And we actually gave up on that spacewalk. And then we came back on another spacewalk sometime later with a solution on how we were going to unfold this beam. And what we had was a hammer. And we had gotten permission from the flight directors on the ground to get out this big honkin' hammer that we have, which we had to borrow from the Russians because they had it on the Russian side of space station. And the hammers we tend to have on the NASA side of the space station might be something that a jeweler would use to repair a watch, you know, a very precise little dainty hammer that you could do precision pounding with. So we borrowed this Russian hammer, and we went out on our spacewalk with this big hammer, and we had permission to start beating on this piece of spaceflight hardware. And again, this is a hardware that when it's on the ground, you have to treat it with gloves on. Literally, you have to handle it with gloves. And so we were out there with this hammer beating on this stanchion, and it finally broke loose, and we were able to put it in its final and useful configuration. You have a whole series of O-rings in here, and a shaft that you rotate.
So, I mean, like on the space station, how many of these would you have?
7, because we have 7 windows.
What happens if you get a leak on that?
Then you have a leak.
You just have a leak.
And what you would do is...
You lose air.
Got him! Yeah, you would probably seal the whole cupola off. And then there's probably a plan. I don't know off the top of my head, but there's probably a plan. I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
When you said that just now, did it sound stupid to you?
Kind of.
And I'll kind of sum it up by saying you have to have a bit of a sense of humor and allow things to change from what you originally thought they might be.